I could not be more excited about this video that I'm about to film. I truly feel like I'm recording this video for my 14-year-old self that literally held a presentation on how smartphones are making us addicted because I could not put my phone down. I got my first phone when I was 12 years old and it completely took over my entire life. From spending up to 11 hours a day on my phone and that hitting rock bottom when TikTok got released, to scrolling for Reels, YouTube, whatever, and feeling like smartphones and social media completely rotted my brain. It made me waste days and weeks and months of my life, took away my attention from all the things I truly wanted to do, time I could have spent with friends and family. It made me anxious and so many more things, while also simultaneously giving me some of the most important knowledge, some of my closest friends, some of my success even. So needless to say, social media and my phone completely imbalanced my life from the moment I got my first phone, which was really, really early on. And I wish I had someone like just a big older sister tell me on how to find balance. Because even though the world is currently waking up to how bad social media is and everyone is talking about brain rot, everyone is still giving out extremely generic, basic advice. I tried all the digital detoxes and I failed again and again, to the point where I did not want to watch a single other advice video on how to finally unrot your brain or how to finally heal your smartphone addiction, because it simply did not work for me. I tried everything and I was just completely exhausted. I was so exhausted of my phone ruling my life until I found a system that worked. And I feel like what I'm about to share could literally be life-changing for you, because this advice is not generic. You're very likely going to hear some advice here that you've not heard before, and we're going to go through all different areas of literally unboxing your phone addiction to setting up a system, which is something that I've never heard someone talk about, and then at last giving you some real practical advice on how to actually change. I actually want to help you through this video unlock a part in your brain that your mind literally has all the wisdom and all the knowledge to finally implement everything that you've learned. And hopefully this will literally be the last video you watch. You do not want your phone or social media to rule your life anymore. You do not want this. You have things you want to do. You know that there's an opposite side of how things could go in your life. Otherwise you wouldn't be here. Otherwise you wouldn't even have acknowledged that you do have a phone addiction or a social media addiction. So great, you've already done the first step. You've acknowledged that you do have a problem with social media and your phone. Great, first step done. I'm going to categorize this video into 3 main parts, which are all going to have some little subcategories, but I really want it to be structured so you can find all the timestamps down below. So don't you worry, we're going to go through it all in a way that is non-overwhelming and simple. The first thing we're going to be talking about is your digital devices are working against you. And that's what brings me to my point number 1. They are literally designed to work against you. So first thing that we're going to do in this video is actually take all that shame, all that pressure, all that overwhelm, and all that guilt off your back. That's what we need to do first. I know how I felt because every parent, every person out there, everyone I knew, when I told them I struggled with my phone, they told me I have no discipline. They made me feel like there was something wrong with me. They made me feel like, oh, I'm not consistent enough. I don't have any willpower. I'm not strong enough. I'm weak. That's what I've been told, and that's what I felt like for pretty much 10 years of my life, because I could not put my phone out of my hand. And I'm here to tell you it is not your fault, and we have to acknowledge that first and foremost. There are billion-dollar companies working to get you to be on your phone and on your digital devices as much as possible. You know how many nerds sit in dark rooms for 24 hours a day programming systems just so you stay on your phone for the longest amount possible? This is happening with TikTok, Reels, Instagram, YouTube, all the apps. They use the same systems in casinos with slot machines. They know how our brains work. They literally have psychologists, teams of people, hundreds and hundreds of peoples working out systems, studying our brains with real data that they do get from us using their platforms to make it more fun, more stimulating, more addictive, more personalized. Our brains are very intelligent and we can take control, but your brain does not stand a fighting chance without systems in place and without the knowledge that you will get right now against those billion-dollar companies and hundreds of people trying to hack your brain. You can't even compare your social media or phone addiction to a cigarette addiction. You can't even compare that because when you want to quit cigarettes, not everyone in the world smokes. Phones and social media are literally all around us. Everybody uses them. If you don't want to smoke or drink alcohol, you just don't surround yourselves with people that do that. You can't really disconnect from people that use their phones because you have to use your phone, or often you feel like you have to use social media. But enough of that. You are here because you've probably tried to work on your phone and social media addiction quite a few times, and you probably failed. This might even be like your 20th time trying to work on your addiction. This has been me. I've probably done over 50 trial and error runs before I finally found a system that works. But the reason why you failed so much in the past is because you tried to rely on willpower or discipline, which pretty much is your emotions and feelings in the moment. That does not work with social media and your phone. It does not work. We are setting up a system, which is in turn going to lead you to an entirely different lifestyle, an entirely different life. Your life, when you find a balance of social media, is going to look entirely different from your life now in the best way possible. This is not a change for the moment. This is actually going to be a whole life shift for the better. The next thing I need you to know is you can make a change. It is possible for you to change your life, even though every single person around you is constantly on their phone, addicted to social media. The world is just going to become more digital. Literally, it's going to be more difficult every day to fight against those forces that are against us and those forces that are trying to take control of our minds and our attention. You are able to make a change and find a balance. You do not necessarily have to go cold turkey. You can if you want to. You can get off social media and delete it, which has worked magically for so many people. You don't need it. But if you are even like a content creator, or if you are just someone who likes the benefits that social media does have, because it has many. I tried to deny this for the longest time, and I just tried to completely disconnect from social media and delete it. But social media has immense benefits. I've learned so much on there. I've met so many friends, and I've gotten so many opportunities. Social media is a huge part of our life, and we can find a balance. Even if you consider yourself a person that has black or white thinking, or someone who really struggles with balance in any area of your life. When we're about to go for the system, which we're going to get into in a second, the first 4 to 7 to 10 days are going to be the hardest. And mind you, maybe they might not even be hard, because I do believe we have a lot of control over our brains and we can just decide for things to be easy. So it doesn't have to be hard, but just prepare that you just have to get past the first 7 days and your brain literally won't remember how things used to be before. Sometimes your brain will trick you into going back to your old lifestyle, or sometimes you might shift back into an old way of being or an old way of using your phone or social media. But after setting up that system, it's literally not going to be possible anymore. But I also need you to internalize that to be human is to return to yourself as many times as possible. That is literally what balance is. You will fall off the bandwagon. With things like social media, you might find a loophole one day. And then you're not going to quit and be really angry at yourself and say, oh, screw this, I'm going to just be on my phone for 11 hours a day again. No, you're just going to go back and see, whoop, just returning to myself again, returning to the way that is the healthiest again. So let's actually get into the mind work and what I like to call the mind shift, because we're actually going to be shifting some things in your mind. And some of those things you may have not thought about before, because most people just tell you to go cold turkey or do a digital detox or literally just plan a day in your week to not be on your phone. But that hasn't worked, has it? So we're actually going to do some things before we get into setting up the system so we can actually keep this balance and change your life in the long run. What we need to first talk about is that there are quite a few basic needs that we as humans have, such as the basic need for connection, the basic need of needing to know what goes on around us, or the basic need for knowledge, or literally scanning for information, scanning for danger. The basic need for literally being connected to our friends and family and knowing what goes on in their life. But even though social media and your phone, it fills a lot of those needs, it does a really bad job at filling those needs. Like, it's so bad. But our brain is like, okay, that's good enough. And that's why it keeps craving more. But our phone and our social media, it is fulfilling basic needs. What I want you to do right now is actually write down those basic human needs. And I'm actually going to put a list here, and I want you to pause this video and actually write them down somewhere and assess your current life situation. How fulfilled are those needs in your life, and in what ways is social media or your phone or your computer actually fulfilling those needs, but not in the best way possible? Those needs are never going to go away. They are basic human needs that you do need to be fulfilled, to be happy. But notice how you're filling them, and then find healthier alternatives to fill them. The next thing I would need to talk about, and that's just a little mind note that I need to give you, is that we cannot talk about balance by taking things out of our lives, by just literally saying, I'm gonna go cold turkey and not be on my phone anymore. We end up being extremely unfulfilled because we do not have the tools. We should actually think further and actually put healthy and actually fulfilling things into our lives instead of just taking all of this out, because our brain is gonna be extremely overwhelmed if we just take out 11 hours of phone use and suddenly we don't even know what to do. And that's why we keep checking our phones again. Let's be honest, it's not going to be realistic for you to just sit in silence for 11 hours a day or meditate for 11 hours a day. That's not needed either. Okay, the second to last thing before we actually get into the whole setup is we need to talk about dopamine. And to be honest, you've probably watched so many self-help videos on YouTube already. You know what dopamine is. And what we need to talk about right now, and this is going to help you so much in those first 7 to 10 days or any time literally where you want to break a habit, is I need you to become aware of literally how your brain works and how dopamine works in your brain. Whenever you check your phone, whenever you get a notification, whenever you open TikTok, whenever you watch a new reel, whenever you see a story, get a like on your post, that is a dopamine rush for your brain. That is literally in a graph, a spike of dopamine for your brain. But that is, as most people say, not a healthy source of dopamine. It's a very, very high spike, as in comparison of, let's say, you going for a run and having like a slight elevation of like dopamine and ending up being really happy because you've done a hard thing and dopamine is rising. We all have dopamine levels and dopamine goes up and down. That is completely normal. If you didn't have dopamine, that would be terrible. So let's not demonize dopamine. But we all have a dopamine baseline. And the thing is, especially fast-paced content is truly devilish because we have this baseline of dopamine, and whenever we spike our dopamine really high, and with reels and shorts, you're literally watching one extremely entertaining video after the other, you literally increase your baseline of dopamine. So literally whenever you do a normal task, whenever you try to read a book, whenever you try to be silent, try to spend some time with your family or watch a long movie, it's going to be way below your now new baseline of dopamine because you've bombarded your brain with such high spikes of dopamine that anything that does not cause such a high spike is literally boring as heck now. And what I want to talk about now is that feeling that you get before breaking a habit and falling back into doing that habit again. You know that feeling. Think back to a time where you were like, I'm not going to eat that donut. I'm not going to be on my phone right now because I know it's terrible for me. I know it's bad for me, but there's this feeling inside of you. You're just like, I'm weak. I can't do it. You do it anyway. Let's be honest. We all know that feeling in our body. What I want you to do right now, and this is not just going to be life-changing in terms of your phone addiction and your social media addiction, it's literally going to change your entire life from now on. I want you to get acquainted with that feeling. I want you to tune into that feeling right now, that feeling you get right before, oh, you know, this is not good for me. I shouldn't scroll, but you do it anyway. That is literally a moment in your graph when your dopamine is below the baseline and it just wants to go up again. It just wants to have a high spike. And I also really, really recommend reading this book. Dopamine Nation has completely changed my life and so many other people's. From now on, get addicted to overcoming that feeling right before you fall back into a habit again. So if you watch this video, you might have ADHD. You very well have a dopamine imbalance for sure. Your baseline is not where it should be, but you do struggle with dopamine and you probably have somewhat of an obsessive personality. Use that to your fucking advantage. That's what I have done, and I've never heard someone talk about this. So the first thing that I did is I literally got acquainted with that really uncomfortable, sickening feeling right before I was about to do something that I know I shouldn't do. Instead of getting that dopamine from literally then grabbing that donut or grabbing your phone and going on reels, I want you to get acquainted with that feeling and get your dopamine of sitting with that feeling. Because ultimately, we think this feeling and sitting with this feeling is going to kill us. Our brain, love our brain, but it's truly not always working for us. Our brain will literally almost trick us into thinking that this discomfort that we feel, this dip of dopamine, will literally kill us, although we rationally kind of know it won't kill us. So as soon as you feel that feeling within you, and for the first few times, you might not even be able to overcome it, just get acquainted with that feeling. Like, oh, that's a feeling I get a lot of times. Get acquainted with that feeling, and then even with small things, overcome it and get addicted to that feeling of overcoming it. Let that be a dopamine spike. You have now understood how dopamine spikes work, and you have probably ADHD or an obsessive personality. Get addicted to that dopamine spike of not doing it and sitting with that discomfort, because it's not gonna kill you. Because what's the worst that will happen when this discomfort arises? We all know that discomfort. That's why I want you to get acquainted with it. Sitting with this feeling, it won't kill you. What's the worst that would happen? The worst is you sit on the floor and you cry, and then after you feel better, and then you do something that's more fulfilling. Just get acquainted with that feeling, and that's gonna help you so much in the process if you ever struggle with your phone use, or even if you struggle with the system that we're about to set up. So let's actually get into setting up the system. And this has been the thing that changed my life. Everyone out there talks about all these little tools that you can implement and all these little things that you can do in digital detoxes, but we cannot rely on our willpower. We cannot rely on little tools that we can literally outsmart in very simple ways. We all have set up that little Apple system that shows us that we should get off the app after 30 minutes of use, and then we all put in the code and we're on the app again. We cannot rely on our willpower, and the sooner you realize that, the sooner you are free. So what we're actually going to be doing now, and don't worry, all the links are in the description down below. Hopefully you pause this video and you do it now. You are actually going to take, this might even just take you 15 minutes, but let's just say 1 or 2 hours of your day right now to set up a system that is going to serve you for literally the next years to come. This system does not rely on consistency or willpower or strength. This system relies on you right now being in the motivation because you want to make a change, and the you tomorrow or the day after or whatever, the you that is in their emotion, that literally just has forgotten about all this motivation that you currently have and just wants to watch a reel, just wants to be on YouTube and doom scroll, it's just not going to be able to. It's because it's going to have to rely on the you right now. And trust me, the you right now is in the better headspace than the you tomorrow. So what I personally did, and I did that probably 2 years ago, this took me a lot longer because I didn't have the tools that I had right now. And I'm just going to give you all of them. This took me probably like a few days because I looked up the whole internet. I literally looked through every single Reddit forum, and I tried so many until I found a system that finally worked, and it has served me for the past 2 years, and it has saved me countless of hours and given me back my life so much because I no longer have to rely on my emotions and feelings in the moment, which will often just lead me to betray myself and doom scroll. So the first thing we're gonna do right now is I want you to literally in front of you, I want you to get all of your digital devices out in front of you. And you're probably on one of those digital devices watching this video, but try to get all the digital devices that you do have. So this might be an iPad. This might even be like your TV that has YouTube on it. This might be obviously your laptop, your phone, maybe even your Apple Watch. Any device, digital device, which has social media on it or whatever, that is not serving you, that is working against you, even though it has great tools. Your computer, your phone has great tools, but it is currently not working for you. So I want you to literally lay them out in front of you. What I want you to do next is actually, and you can even write little papers and put them on those devices if you truly put them out all in front of you. And I want you to truly reflect, even for a minute, how are those devices serving you and how are those devices not serving you? You can write this down somewhere on a piece of paper. Write down iPad or tablet or computer and write down all the great things that you're using it for. I'm using it to text my friends. I'm using it for Google Maps, for my banking apps, my camera. So if you're a content creator or someone who literally relies on their devices for their job, we're also going to get into that because that was my case and that's why I struggled so much. I thought I was never going to find a balance because I had to use my devices and my devices had great benefits to them. But a lot of those time-sucking and soul-sucking things were also on that device. So basically, I want you to assess all the devices you use in your day-to-day life, write down the positives that you use it for, and write down the negatives. The next thing that I want you to do is to write down the platforms that you use on a daily basis. I want you to write down the platforms that take the most time. You can even look this up in your settings, but you probably already know. For me, it was Instagram, YouTube. I had no problem with Twitter. Some people are literally addicted to Substack. It could be any platform. The next thing I just quickly want you to think about, but it's going to happen naturally, is how would your ideal way of using your phone and your systems look like? Close your eyes and just think about, in a dream life, your highest self, your Pinterest version of yourself, whatever, how would that person that had no problems whatsoever, that had a perfect balance already, how would that person use their devices? Or their phone, or their computer, or their social media apps? What would that look like? And even try to write that down. What we're going to be doing now, and as I said, you will find all the links down below. I'm going to give you a little overview of how I personally set up my phone and my computer to be distraction free and to serve me. And this system is going to look different for every single person, because you might have an Apple phone, you might have an Android phone, you might not have a tablet, you might use different apps, especially on your computer, you might use a different browser. So I personally do have all Apple products, and I actually do know that this works better for Android products because Android has less restrictions and less like internal rules. So actually Android has apps where you can block Reels on your Instagram app. Literally, the reel button down below is blocked and you can block certain functions. Apple does not have that because Apple literally wants us to be addicted. Apple has completely eliminated any easy way on how to actually block really, really distracting aspects in like Instagram or TikTok or whatever. Especially as content creators, we do need Instagram to post. We do need TikTok to post. We sometimes do want to check up on our friends or see if there's a new event somewhere. So we need to find ways to make it distraction free and to set up a system that works for us. It's actually a lot easier with Apple computers because it's actually very easy to make the social medias you use in your browser distraction free. So this is, for example, what my front page of YouTube looks like. I have shorts completely blocked from my YouTube. I do not have a YouTube front page. The only thing that I can do is look up videos on YouTube, and even if that's distracting to you, you can literally block the entire website. I did the same thing with Instagram. I completely grayscaled my Instagram on my computer. I cannot see my front feed, and I also cannot just mindlessly watch stories. I also do have a 30-minute time limit. The cool thing about those browser add-ons that I have linked down below, by the way, I'm not sponsored of any of these. I just thought about that it's maybe a bit stupid because I could get paid because I do recommend these a lot. This is just to help you, but you cannot actually remove these add-ons in an instant. There's actually a time limit and a message you can set up for yourself, so you have to wait, let's say 600 seconds before you actually turn it off again. Nobody's gonna do that. So literally the first thing I did was on my computer set up all these systems for all those platforms and all those time-sucking things that I used on my computer, and for me mainly it was YouTube and also Instagram on my computer, and I set up these browser distraction-free add-ons, which changed my life because I was still able to use those platforms but without the distractions. The second thing I did, which was actually the most life-changing on my computer, iPad, and my phone, is download the app Freedom. And I do know that nowadays there's multiple apps that you can use. I also know there's an app called Time Left, which I also used a lot, but for me the most life-changing one was actually the app called Freedom, and I have it on all my devices, and I wish they would sponsor me. I've literally told all my friends about this and they all use it now. But I have set up a schedule where I can access apps like Instagram, YouTube, whatever, for literally 30 to 60 minutes a day, which is always at the same time. I sometimes even block entire days. I have it open starting at like 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. That's where I post. That's where I post my stories. That's where I post my posts because it's also the best time to post in my country, and then it closes again and you cannot access it. There's no way around it. That has helped immensely, and there's many apps for Android, for Apple, for your computer that will do the same kind of thing. But what is really important, you need for those app systems and browser add-ons to have a locked mode. For example, what I love about Freedom is that it literally has a locked mode where you have to send them an email for them to unlock it. And often, obviously, they won't reply that fast. So It's absolutely life-changing, and it also does not just block the app, it also blocks the browser URL. But if that's too much for you and you sometimes do quickly have to use Instagram or a different app, then I really, really recommend 1Second. It's so incredible. It has like 15 different startup functions. So when you open the Instagram app, you can do it literally with any app, Safari even, whatever. You can set up like 10 seconds, 60 seconds, 2 minutes, a journal prompt, or just silence or meditation or a breathing exercise before being able to access the app. And that's very life-changing. So now I just gave you some ideas on how to set up that system, but I truly want you to get it in your mind that you are setting up a system for all the devices that you've laid in front of you. You are setting up a system for you tomorrow, the you that is struggling with willpower and motivation, and the you that just wants to doom scroll. Oh, I'm going to give you so many resources down below. I even created a page on my website with so many resources just for you to really set up a system that works. Set up a system on all the platforms that you use. Figure out how you need to use them. For example, like posting or looking something up on YouTube instead of being distracted by so many videos that you see on your For You page. Also, a little add-on for content creators, and that has been literally my biggest life change, and nobody knows about this for some reason. Everyone I talk to, nobody knows about this, is I do not have Instagram on my phone. I literally use the Meta Business Suite app where you can upload reels, photos, stories, check DMs, and actually check your notifications as well, but you cannot doom scroll. There's no reels, there's no feed, there's no stories, no anything. So literally delete Instagram off your phone or just have it open for like 30 minutes with that Freedom app time slot, and then just use the Meta Business Suite app if your excuse is, oh, but I need to see if an important DM comes through, or I need to, like, I have some friends that I chat with on Instagram or whatever, or I need to post stories for my Instagram account because I'm a content creator. That has literally been the most life-changing thing for me ever. So literally just use that. The next little tip, which I'm going to give you, I don't love to include it, but it actually does help because it's one of the more basic tips, is to actually grayscale your phone. But what I want you to do is actually set up a very quick shortcut on your phone and your computer and how to grayscale your phone. So for me personally, I just swipe down on my phone where you can quickly search things in the search bar, and I just type in grayscale, and then you can quickly click the on off button. You can even set up a shortcut with like pressing the side button 2 times to turn on grayscale, and you can do the same thing on your computer, and it's super easy, especially in the mornings. It actually makes your phone and your computer less distracting because we are like children. If something is fun and has a lot of colors and it's super stimulating to the eye, we're gonna want to click on it. We're visual beings, so this is really important. And I hope you remember what I said at the beginning, is that we don't want to focus on just taking things out of your life, such as social media or your phone or your like doom scrolling, because our brain is gonna get super, super overwhelmed with all the free time that we suddenly now do have. So what we need to do now is to actually make this last, is to find alternatives. Because yeah, you spend a lot of time on your phone because phones and your devices are designed to keep you on that phone, but often we do find ourselves spending so much time on our phones because we actually do not have an alternative. And this is the case with so many people nowadays. There is a loneliness epidemic happening. We do not have communities anymore. We are very disconnected from nature. We are not taught how to be with our feelings. Lots of people do not have passions. Lots of people do not have interests or hobbies. So what we need to work on right now is finding those alternatives. And that's in general just going to be literally the most important thing you're going to do in your life. Think about your highest self. Think about that perfect version of you that is living the life that you really, 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 truly want to live. How is that person spending their time? And if you can't think of anything, just write down, do a quick brain dump without thinking, without being too much in your brain. Literally do a dump of all the things that do interest you. It might be tennis, it might be pickleball, it might be reading, it might be cooking. Maybe if it might even be community, even if you don't have community right now, just write it all down. Write down all the things how you would love to spend your time without doom scrolling. Even if it's starting a business, even if it's having a YouTube channel of your own, even if it's having a podcast, you need passions, interests, curiosity. You need to pour your heart and soul into things because that's what you came here to do. You did not come here to spend literally 11, 12 hours of your day consuming other people's lives. That's why you're miserable. That's why you're depressed. That's why you're overwhelmed. You came here to create. We have God within us. And what is the description of God? He creates. He put us humans on this planet to create. And the creating is not just for the creatives. The creating is not just for the artists of the world, for the geniuses of the world. You can't just see a painter or an artist and say, oh, they are meant to create, but I'm not meant to create because I'm not creative. I don't have great ideas. You came here to make shitty art. You came here to read a million books if that's what interests you. You came here to speak your fucking mind about topics that you're interested in. You came here not to consume, not to put in all of this. You came here to take all that inspires you, all the things that you have faced in your life, all the experience you have made, do something with it. Do something with your wounds, do something with those experiences, make shitty art. Yes, it often feels really overwhelming because there's so many people out there that do create stuff and put stuff out into the world. So it often feels very saturated, and it literally often feels like it's too much for this world. There's already so much art on the internet. There's already so many writing pieces. Like, no one's gonna read it. No one's gonna listen to it. It does not matter who's gonna listen. It does not matter who's gonna watch. All that matters for your sanity, for your mental well-being, and for your health is to get all of that out of your system, all of it out of your body. Otherwise, it's gonna clog, it's gonna make you overwhelmed, it's gonna cause stagnation. Pour yourself into hobbies, try out a million hobbies, pour yourself into your purpose. And if you don't know what your purpose is not just one thing in this life. It can be 100 different things from now on. You can reinvent yourself a million times. Notice how limitless this life is, how many times you can reinvent yourself. You can be anything in this life that you want to be. You can be a runner tomorrow, you can be a farmer the next day. You can be an artsy creative person that makes shitty modern arts. One day you can play tennis or football or basketball the next day and be shitty at all of it or really good at it. Literally, it doesn't matter. The next thing I want to tell you is to get into reading. It has completely changed my life, and I know so many people talk about it. Maybe you have never liked reading, but if you have liked reading as a child and you stop reading, get back into reading. Your inner child is begging for you to get back into reading. Even if it's comics, even if it's magazines, just get back into like any form of physical reading that somehow gets back your attention spans, even if it's movies, but actually watching movies intentionally with friends, your family, or just intentionally sitting down, watching a full-length movie, having some popcorn, and just sitting on your couch. Like in the old days, watch the entire movie, have your phone in a different room turned off. Also, make your bedroom a no phone zone. Which also brings me to my next point, is start the first 30 to 60 minutes of your day and the last 30 to 60 minutes of your day without using a phone. The things you do in the first 30 to 60 minutes of your day literally determine your whole entire day. Even if you eat something sugary, like right in the morning, that's going to lead your blood sugar to literally make you crave more sweets and send you on sort of like a roller coaster. And it's the same thing with dopamine. If you do something that's super, super high of like just quick spiking dopamine right in the morning, and I'm not talking about like healthy dopamine, like a cold shower or like reading a book, which leads to like a gradual dopamine spike, which actually makes you happy instead of just dopamine ridden and filled with anxious energy. Notice the power of the first 30 to 60 minutes of each day. And actually, again, set up a system. Don't rely on willpower. Don't rely on your emotions and feelings because they are going to be different every single day. Your system is going to stay the same. Don't even put your phone in the same room, which brings me to my next point. Getting a physical alarm clock has changed my life entirely. I have a physical alarm clock and I even bring it with me on vacations, and I actually just upgraded to a new one which also has like meditation sounds and like ocean sounds. Do not use your phone as an alarm clock. That is literally the worst thing that you can possibly do. Get a physical alarm clock. And then again, before going to bed, read a book, listen to some calming meditation music, whatever it is. Don't watch fast-paced content, but obviously after setting up that system, you won't be able to. But again, place a book on your nightstand, prepare things beforehand, don't focus on your emotions again, don't even have your phone in your room first thing in the morning, have it someplace else turned off, you don't need it. The first thing in the morning, get some real sunlight, get some fresh air, literally do one thing in the morning that's gonna spike your dopamine in a healthy way. For me personally, that's literally making my bed. I hate doing it, but after doing it, that gives me a dopamine spike. because I'm like, I'm proud of myself. I did something productive. I made my bed. So do something like that. Again, find hobbies, make new friendships, go to in-person events. That has been life-changing for me. I keep talking about this. If you live in a city or even like in a little town, go to in-person events or workshops, to a yoga class, a local place where you can make new friends, like hang out with your already existing friends. If you do not have friends, check out the how to build community video that I put up. If you struggle with not finding in-person events, literally create them. You don't know how easy it is to put up a flyer and just literally set up a picnic in your local park. Or use those 30 minutes of social media time that you do have unlocked in your day to find an event in your city that you can go to or whatever. Use the benefits of social media. Again, you can do that. If you notice yourself constantly being on your phone or your devices with certain friends or certain coworkers or with your family because everyone is on their phone, you're more likely to also want to be on your phone. But actually talk to them. And if you can't convince them to do something more positive, more enriching, then try to distance yourself as much as possible because you are the people you surround yourselves with. That's the most important thing. We need to have friendships in our lives and connections where we are just so full of joy and happiness and just so in conversation that we forget that we even have phones. Bring more of that into your life. Think about all the things that make you forget that you have a phone. Do more of them. And again, set up systems for you to do that. Set up something for tomorrow that you can't cancel. Set up something for this week, for next week, a class that you have to pay for, or like an event that you already paid for. Do something that will serve your future self, even if you as your future self are frustrated about the systems you have set up for yourself, as long as you know that it's for your highest good. But often you will be frustrated. You will click on those social media apps and want to doom scroll or be on YouTube in a moment that is difficult, and you will be frustrated and be like, I've blocked everything, like why can't I? And it's going to be frustrating, and that's going to be okay, which actually brings me to my last point. It is not always going to be super easy. There will be ups and downs, and that is completely okay. To live is to return to yourselves as many times as you need. Keep that in mind. You're not weak. There's nothing wrong with you. You will find yourselves finding loopholes maybe, and then again you will refine your system to actually then also block those loopholes. You will set up a system starting from now that will completely work for you and not against you. That is the most important thing. So, phew! This was a really, really long and information-packed video. The sun is going crazy, so I think this is my cue to stop. As always, you can find literally all the resources, everything that you need in the description down below. Share your experience down below and any other tips that you have. Let's make the comments a big resource list of all the tips that have worked for people, of all the things that may have not worked for people. Let's just do a big list down below. Also, please join me on my journey here on YouTube and my podcast and Instagram. You can find everything down below: my website, my events, my retreats, how to work with me, all my socials, the podcast, the YouTube. I hope this video helped you, and I'll hopefully see you again next week.